Good morning, students. The topic of today's discussion is resolution repetition in propositional logic. Four methods of propositional logic we are learning. First one, NDS, natural deduction system. Second one, axiomatic system. Third one, semantic tabular. Now, the last one is resolution repetition. A simple and resolution repetition method is um, following the backward chaining strategy. There is a term called clause, which is used to denote a special formula containing Boolean operators and or. And any given formula can be converted into set of clauses. Resolution refutation method uses a single inference rule, which is known as resolution based on modus ponens inference rule. The resolution repetition method is more efficient in comparison to NDS and axiomatic system. NDS is natural reduction system, axiomatic system. In this NDS, there were rules introduce and eliminate, and or not implies equivalence. Axiomatic system, there are three axioms. There were three axioms and one modus ponens rule. And here we face the problem of knowing which rule or which axiom to apply. Therefore, if the negation of the goal is to be proved, that is proved by contradiction, set of clauses using the resolution principle, there is a refutation in the new set. During resolution, we need to identify two clauses, one with positive atom and another with negative atom. And the resolution rule is applied. This is tabular method. For example, for this example, this one is the tabular method. We know how to do this. Please try to solve that. Conversion of a formula into a set of clauses. Resolution refutation has set of clauses. There are two normal forms, disjunctive normal form and conjunctive normal form. And a formula is said to be in normal form if it is constructed only using and or not. A formula is said to be in normal form if there are only three connectives used and not and or. In disjunctive normal form, the formula is represented as disjunction of conjunction, like this. Disjunction of conjunction. These terms have and operation which are joined with or operation. That is disjunctive normal form. And see, conjunctive normal form, it is represented as conjunction of disjunction. It is in this form. If you invert this and to or and or to and, conjunctive normal form is obtained. Conjunctive normal form for of a given formula is C1 and C2 and so on up to Cn, where each Ck, where k is greater or equal to 1 and less than or equal to n, is a disjunction of literals, and it is called a clause. A clause is defined as a formula of the form L1 union L2 union up to Lm. Therefore, it is if a given formula is converted to its equivalent conjunctive normal form as C1 and C2 and up to Cn, then the set of clauses is nothing but set of each conjunct of conjunctive normal form. That each set of clauses is set of conjunct conjunctive normal form. It has parts like this. For example, the set A or B, comma not A or B, comma C or not B represents a set of clauses. A or B is one clause, not A or D is one clause, C or not B is another one, the last clause. And the procedure by which such clauses for a given formula can be obtained will be discussed now, which is conversion of a formula to its CNF. What is CNF? Conjunctive normal form. Any formula in propositional logic can be transformed into conjunctive normal form. Whatever may be the formula, that uh, transfer into CNF is possible. What are the steps to transform a formula into CNF? First one is eliminate double negation sign. We know about this. Not a is equal to a. All right. And De Morgan's law. De Morgan's law is also known when there is a not for this expression a and b. This can be written as not a or not b. And here it is not a and not b. And distributive law to get CNF. Uh, A or B and C means A or B. A or B is one clause. A or C is another clause. And here we get this and. Therefore, it is in conjunctive normal form. Implies and equivalence can be eliminated by using the equivalence law. A implies B is equal to not A or B. A equivalence B is equal to A implies B and B implies A. These rules can be leveraged in order to transform any formula into conjunctive normal form. Let us look at an example. Convert the formula into its conjunctive normal form. Will anyone tell me why this formula is not in conjunctive normal form? Students, anyone please respond. Why that formula is not in CNF? Uh, Observe here, in CNF you can have only not and or. Here we have got implies, and this clause is C and not A. But C and not A cannot be one clause joined by this conjunction or and. The process to convert this formula into CNF can be done by application of different rules which are given here, equivalence rules. How this can be written? Not A implies B. This can be written as uh, means A implies B is equal to not A or B. So not A or B. Not A implies B is written as not A or B. Okay, that is the application of first rule, implies. Then next we know that from this double negation elimination, not A is equal to A. Therefore, this not A would become A or B. We got one clause. When you look at this clause, mm, C and not A is within parenthesis. If you eliminate this parenthesis, then it is C and not A. Uh, it means that the A or B is one clause, C is one clause, not A is one clause. So there are three clauses. These three are joined by AND operation. And is in this conjunctive normal form. And operation joins the clauses. They can be in they can have or they can have and, or they can have just a literal. All right, this is uh, in CNF, and these set of clauses can be written by eliminating this and operations as A or B comma C comma not A. Mm. Is this clear, students? Well, whenever you get out, you can stop me and ask. The idea is you learn something. If you don't learn, if you don't understand, there is no meaning. A resolution of clauses. Two clauses can be resolved by eliminating complementary pairs of literals. When you have not A and A, these are complementary pair of literals. These can be eliminated. Two clauses C1 and C2 contains a complementary pair of literals. When we have like L comma not L, then these clauses may be resolved together by deleting L from C1 and not L from C2. If C1 has L and C2 has not L, they can be eliminated. And apparently it results in the construction of new clause by the disjunction of the remaining literals in C1 and C2. This new clause is called as a resolvent of C1 and C2. The clauses C1 and C2 are called as parent clauses of the resolved clauses. From parent clauses, there are parent clauses that contains conflicting uh, literals. Those can be eliminated, resulting in resolvent clauses. These resolvent clauses belong to these parent clauses. And the resolution tree is a inverted binary tree of the last node being the resolvent, which is generated as part of the resolution process. Moving on to the example, to find the resolvent of the clause in the set. From this set, resolvent has to be found. What is the resolvent? Resolvent is um, it can be in simple words said as a um, subset of the original clauses. There is A or B, this one, not A or D, the second one, C or not B, this third one, A or B, not A or D. Here A and not A can be eliminated. When A and not A are eliminated, what is left over, B or D? This here B and this D. B or D is the resolvent of A or B and not A or D. Further, this third clause has not B, and this resolvent which has been obtained from the first two clauses have B. Therefore, B and not B can be eliminated. After eliminating B and not B, left over is C and D, which can be written as C or D, which is a resolvent of the parent clause A or B, not A or D, C or not B. All right, students, did you understand? Now that we are familiar with the resolution process, we can state few results. If C is a resolvent of two clauses C1 and C2, then C is a logical consequence of the set of clauses C1 and C2. This is known as resolution principle because it has been derived from that clause and it follows a logical consequence. If a contradiction or an empty clause is derived from set S of clauses using resolution, then S is said to be unsatisfiable. All right. If contradiction is there or an empty clause is there, if any one of this is derived from S, means finally S leads to some kind of contradiction, say not A or an empty set, empty clause. It is unsatisfiable. And the derivation of contradiction for a set S by resolution method is called as resolution refutation. Means this is proof by contradiction, which is known as a resolution refutation of S. S is a set of clauses. Excuse me. S is a set of clauses. From S, either a contradiction or an empty clause is derived. A clause C is said to be logical consequence of S if C is derived from S. It is like C derived from S. Alternatively, using the resolution refutation concept, a clause C is defined to be logical logical consequence of S if and only if S naught is S or not C is unsatisfiable. When do you say it is unsatisfiable? When there is a contradiction or empty clause uh, derived. If it is unsatisfiable, that is contradiction or an empty clause is deduced from S dash, assuming that initially the set S is satisfiable. Uh, this point states that initially S was satisfiable. Later, when through resolution refutation, its derivatives were obtained, it results in unsatisfiable set, and that can happen through resolution refutation concept. Through resolution using resolution refutation principle, show that C or D is a logical consequence of this. How can we show that this is logical consequence of this set? To prove this statement, first negation has to be added to the logical consequence because this is proved by contradiction. When we are proving by contradiction, C or D would become, it can be written as not C and not D. Means after adding negation, if we add negation to C or D, this would be this one, and S dash is obtained as A or B, not A or D, C or not B, not C and not D. This C or D is written as not C or not D. Because when you apply negation to C or D, this is C or D. When you apply negation, you can write as not C and not D. And you can put it in this way, not C, comma, not D. This process begins A or B, not A or D. When these two are resolved, the logical consequence is this B or D by eliminating A dash or not A and not A. From this two, B and not B will be eliminated. C or D will be left. From this two, C and not C would be eliminated, only D would be left. From this two, D and not D will be eliminated, and we get X. That indicate that indeed C or D is a logical consequence of uh, the set, this set A or B, not A or D, C or not B. C or D is a logical consequence of this that has been proved through refutation, resolution, refutation. All right, did you understand this concept of resolution, refutation? With that, propositional logic has been done. We will begin predicate logic. Predicate logic is another logic uh, of programming or logic concepts. We see here propositional logic. This method had validity, unsatisfiability, and so on of a given proposition or set of propositions. Proposition has logic has one limitation, has many limitation. In fact, John is a boy, Paul is a boy, Peter is a boy. This can be symbolized as A, B, C respectively in propositional logic. But um, similarities between A, B, C cannot be drawn. We know that John, Paul, and Peter, all the three are boys. That similarity we cannot obtain in proposition logic because the entire statement is denoted as a symbol in proposition logic. That is the limitation. An alternative way of representing these facts is John, boy of John, means John is a boy. Boy of Paul, boy of Peter. These statements give information that John, Paul, and Peter are all boys. These facts can be easily generated from the general statement boy of X, where X is a variable that can be bound to John, Paul, and Peter. These facts are called instances of boy of X, while the statement boy of X is called a predicate statement or expression. And boy is a predicate symbol and X is its argument. Boy is known as a predicate symbol and X is called as an argument. And this boy of X will either evaluate to true or false. Boy of Peter is equal to true. Boy of Mary is false because Mary is not a boy. Statements like all birds fly cannot be represented in propositional logic because there is no provision to denote all, some, few, whereas predicate logic has got that logical extension uh, which includes extra symbols in the form of quantifiers Predicate calculus has more logical notions in addition to propositional calculus. In predicate calculus, we have got a term. It is either a variable or a constant or n place function. A function is defined as mapping of uh, terms. Predicate is defined as a relation that maps n terms to the truth value. Quantifiers are variables. We have two kinds of quantifiers, universal quantifiers and existential quantifiers. And a well-formed formula can be atomic formula with P as predicate and T1, Tn are the terms. Alpha and beta are well-formed formula. Then all these are also well-formed formulae, not alpha or beta, alpha and beta. If alpha is well-formed formula, x is a free variable, then we can say for all x alpha. There exists x alpha. And a well-formed formula may be generated by applying the rules. And there are these atomic formulas. Example, x is the brother of y. This can be denoted as brother of x comma y. Peter loves his son. This can be represented as Peter is a son. No, means this is a son of Peter. Okay, son of Peter. And Peter love here is a function. Peter love his son. And son is a function that maps Peter to the love is predicate and son is a function. For every a statement, every human is mortal can be translated as x, human of x is mortal, is represented as mortal of x, and then finally it is for all x, if x is a human, implies that x is mortal. First order calculus. If the quantification in predicate formula is only on simple variables and not on predicates or functions, then it is known as first order predicate calculus. If quantifiers and predicates and functions are used, then it is known as second order predicate calculus. This one is second order predicate calculus. This one is first order predicate calculus. When inference rules are added to first order predicate calculus, it becomes first order predicate logic. An interpretation of formula in FOL, first order logic. First order predicate logic is also called as first order logic, FOL. First order predicate logic. In propositional logic, interpretation implies to assignment of truth values to atoms. Variables are involved in FOL. There are variables. So here we can see for all x, p of x is equals to true if and only if p of x is true for all x belongs to D, otherwise it is false for a domain D. Here also there exists x if there exists C belongs to D such that P is equals to true, otherwise it is false. It depends on the domain. If for a particular domain, if all belongs to that, then it is for all. This is evaluate truth value of FOL. This FOL under the interpretation, D is 1 comma 2 means domain is 1 comma 2. P of 1 comma 1 is equals to F comma P of 1 comma 2 is equals to T. This is true. This is false. P of 1 comma 1 is false. P of 1 comma 2 is true. P of 2 comma 1 is true. P of 2 comma 2 is false. The solution begins by denoting true by T and false by F. For x is equals to 1, there exists 2 belonging to D such that P of 1 comma 2 is equals to true. For x is equals to 2. For if x is equals to 2, P of 1 comma 2 is true. There exists I belongs to D such that P of 2 comma 1 is equals to true. Hence alpha is true under interpretation I. when x is 1, when x is 1, uh, this p of 1 comma 2 is true and p of 2 comma 1 is also true. Therefore, it can be said that for the particular interpretation, it is true. Evaluate alpha for all x, p of x implies q of f of x comma c. This is domain is 1 comma 2, constant is 1, f of 1 is 2, f of 2 is 1, p of 1 is false, p of 2 is true. Q of 1 comma 1 is true, q of 1 comma 2 is true, q of 2 comma 1 is false, q of 2 comma 2 is true. The first solution, when x is equals to 1, p of 1 is equals to q of f of 1 comma 1, which is equal to p of 1 implies q of 2 comma 1, which is equal to f implies q of 2 comma 1 equal to 2, true. So this is for x is equals to 1, it is true. For x is equals to 2, p of 2, you go on substituting. P of 2 means true. True means you can put q of this f of 2. F of 2 means 1. F of 2 comma 1, which is equal to p2, uh, implies q comma 1 comma 1, which is equal to true, implies q comma 1 comma 1. It's this is also true. True implies true is true. We can say that alpha is true for all x belongs to D under interpretation I. For x is equal to 1, for x is equal to 2. For both the domain values, it evaluates to true. There is a concept of satisfiability and unsatisfiability in FOL. Satisfiable means if there exists an interpretation such that it evaluates to true. Unsatisfiable means if there is no interpretation that satisfy alpha or no model for alpha. If it is valid if for every interpretation of I, alpha is true. A formula alpha is called a logical consequence of this alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3. If and only if for every interpretation alpha 1 and alpha 2 up to alpha n is evaluated to true. If everything is evaluated to true, the whole formula is evaluated to true. Those are the rules of satisfiability and unsatisfiability in FOL. Now, Prenix normal form. There is a normal form known as Prenix normal form. All right, this we will study tomorrow from Prenix normal form. Please learn and whatever we have discussed, please learn. If you have any doubts, you can ask tomorrow.